This has been a very busy offseason for the Houston Rockets, and offseason so busy that they were able to get their hands on Kevin Durant from the Phoenix Suns. And in order to do that, the Houston Rockets, they did have to give up Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, and the 10th overall pick in this year's NBA draft. But the Houston Rockets, they saw this as a risk that was worth taking, because this season they saw the Houston Rockets go up against the Golden State Warriors, one of the hottest teams in the second half of the NBA season, after making a trade for Jimmy Butler. But we see the Houston Rockets go up against Stephen Curry, Jimmy, Draymond Green, and Coach Steve Kerr, give them a hell of a time, taking them to 7 games, and they had a legit chance to win the series, just if they could have been a little bit better in the half court, executing half court sets, and also knocking down their free throws. And the Houston Rockets feel like they definitely get that with Kevin Durant. And in one of my last videos, I called Kevin Durant an offensive ecosystem, because everybody is going to eat off the type of offense that he generates, and then he's at the top of that food chain. But one thing I've really been overlooking since the addition of Kevin Durant, and not just the addition of KD, but the way they finished the offseason after that, extending Jabari Smith Jr., retaining Steven Adams, bringing in Dorian Finney-Smith and Clint Capela. The way that I look at this roster now is it's the same core guys, but it's constructed so much differently now. But looking at this roster now, not only do I think we're going to see improvements on the offensive side of the ball, but I think we're going to see improvements on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that says a lot, because the Houston Rockets these last couple of years, they really rebranded themselves as one of the most stout defenses, one of the most physical defenses in the NBA today. So when I'm looking at them right now, and what potential I'm seeing in them next season, building, capitalizing on finishing 4th in defensive rating, potentially going even higher than that next season, is now the Houston Rockets. I don't know this for a fact, but just looking at it on paper, I think they might have the longest team in the NBA. And right now, we're just talking about length. We're not factoring in all the athleticism that they possess right now. But when we talk about length, if you ever played basketball, if you ever hooped at any level, playing in middle school, playing pickup, playing in the park, playing in the open gym, length matters. If you have a smaller player on you, anybody shorter arms, you can lay the ball up easily over them all day. But when you start playing those guys that's taller and they have longer arms, you have to try a lot harder to score the basketball. And then sometimes just having one of those guys on the court, it impacts a lot on the basketball court. So when we look at the Houston Rockets, and just to give you the wingspans of some of the guys on this team, it's ridiculous. When we look at some of the bigs, when we look at Clint Capela and we look at Steven Adams, these two guys possess a 7'5" wingspan, and that makes a huge difference playing in the passing lanes, playing in the pick and roll. We see Steven Adams, he gets a lot of little clever steals because he has that 7'5" wingspan, and he has a high basketball IQ. And then Clint Capela is one of the more underrated rim protectors in the NBA today. Even at this point and at this later stage in his career, still a really good rim protector, and his 7'5" wingspan plays a huge role in that. So we look at those two guys, massive wingspans, and then we look at the forwards on this team, and this is where it really gets really dangerous, and I think where a lot of teams are going to hate playing the Houston Rockets this year. And also one of the things I talked about that I overlooked with Kevin Durant, as good as he is on the offensive side of the ball, the offensive ecosystem that he is, I think he can be really dangerous as a defender. He can be really dangerous as a defender under a guy like Coach Ime Udoka, and playing alongside all these other great defenders, because that's another thing about the game of basketball. If you played it at any level, when you play around other high-level defenders, guys that make plays on the defensive side of the ball, they make you want to, you have no other choice but to play defense yourself as well. You don't want to be the only guy out there that's not giving an effort on the defensive side of the ball. So now we have Kevin Durant, who stands at 6 foot, rumored to be 6'10", 6'10", 6'11", but we all believe Kevin Durant is 7 feet tall. So we have KD, who is considered a wing in today's NBA, but you know, a lot of people consider KD to be a bunch of different things, but we have him at the small forward, power forward position. He's 7 feet tall, and he possesses a 7'5" wingspan. So Kevin Durant is out there with the wingspan with Clint Capela and Steven Adams, and we all know the amazing things he does on the offensive side of the ball. I feel like we always got to mention that about KD when we're talking about his wingspan, but this is going to be so vital on the defensive side of the ball, especially with all the different things the Houston Rockets love to do defensively, going through different zones, switching everything. Kevin Durant as a weak side defender, being able to block shots, being able to get steals in the passing lanes. I think that's going to be very beneficial for the Houston Rockets. Looking deeper into this forward room, when we look at a Dorian Finney-Smith that was brought in this offseason. Now he stands at just 6'6", and he's measured to have a 6'11" wingspan. We're gonna just round up today because it was 6'11", then a bunch of decimals. So around the 7-foot wingspan for Dorian Finney-Smith too. And then also to make this even better, he's already a defensive-oriented player. Made his name, made his money on being a 3-and-D guy in the NBA. So that's his thing. So he's a good on-ball point of attack defender, and then also he can rotate down, help protect the rim, bring down rebounds, get steals in the passing lanes. His length on them, playing in them zone defenses, playing in the switch schemes, definitely going to be very beneficial for the Houston Rockets coming into this upcoming season. And then we look at these next two wings. The Houston Rockets actually drafted these guys. The sizes and the athleticism on these two guys is ridiculous. Starting off with Tari Eason. He was drafted a couple of years ago for the Houston Rockets. He stands at 6'8" tall, but he has a 7'2" wingspan. He's supremely athletic, going horizontally on the basketball court, going side to side, and getting up and down the basketball court. He's shown us how elite he is on the defensive side of the ball these last couple of years. We just need Tari Eason to have a full, consistent season for the Houston Rockets. And then we look at Jabari Smith Jr. Same thing. Monster physical traits. He stands at 6'10", has a 7'1" wingspan, does everything on the defensive side of the ball, can anchor the defense, can switch onto smaller players, can guard in the post, and he can rebound the basketball. So they're extremely long in their wing department. And then we look at their ace defender. Their ace defender has elite lift on him as well. And we know their ace defender is none other than Amen Thompson. And this is going to put the cherry on top of the video on why the Houston Rockets could be even better on the defensive side of the ball next season, is because they have Amen Thompson as the captain of this defense, as the what did I just call him? The ace defender. He's the ace defender for the Houston Rockets. And I think when you have an ace defender like this, it's hard to top. It's hard to, when we just talk about the physical attributes, the physical traits, it's hard to top one better than Amen Thompson. And then what makes it even worse for all these other guys in the NBA is that he wants to get out there and defend. So when you have that type of athleticism, and type of instincts, and then you have the will of someone who wants to defend. I'm supposed to tell you guys his measurements, but Amen Thompson, he stands at 6'7", but he possesses a 7-foot wingspan, and he's one of the most athletic players to come in the NBA in these recent amount of years. He's supremely fast. He can jump out of the gym. You look at his highlights, he's going to have some of the craziest defensive highlights that you can see. And he actually, if you just put on his defensive tape, the things that he does on the defensive side of the ball is very entertaining. There's not many players you can say that about, that you can just put on their defensive highlights and you can be satisfied with watching that. That's how explosive he is as a defender. But I'm excited for the Houston Rockets to have Amen Thompson with all of this length around him as that point of attack ace defender. We're going to see him at the top of every zone. We're going to see him starting off guarding the opposing team's best offensive threat. And then also, I think what he can be on the defensive side of the ball has no limitations. We've already seen it last season. He's already guarding guys in the post. He's already protecting the rim. He's getting chase down blocks. And I think now with Dylan Brooks going, he's definitely going to get more responsibilities, more assignments, and I definitely think he's ready for it. But when we look at the Houston Rockets and we look at And we look at all these guys with all this length. We just named about 5, 6, 7 guys that has a 7-foot wingspan. And we just go back to that point that we made at the beginning of the video. Basketball on any different level. When you have anybody that's, you know, a little bit taller than you, a lot taller than you. I'm not saying you can't score on these guys, but we all know it makes it a lot tougher. And then when you have guys who have like massive wingspans like these guys on the Houston Rockets, elite athletes like these guys on the Houston Rockets, and then you have Coach Ime Udoka, one of the best defensive-minded coaches in the game today, who's not afraid to. We've seen him go to so many different looks. We've seen him throw out every type of zone. We've seen him play a switch everything. We've seen him play in the drop coverage with his big. So he literally has a roster now where he can have every defensive scheme at his disposal. If he wants to play his bigs in the drop coverage, he has Amen Thompson, he has Tari Eason, he has Dorian Finney-Smith. That's 3 on-ball defenders right there that were brought into the NBA for their skills to fight over screens. If they wanted to play a zone against a team, if they wanted to disrupt the passing lanes, look at the length that they have on their wings with Kevin Durant, Tari Eason, Jabari Smith Jr. That was 3 guys that can play on the basketball court at the same time, and they have a 7-foot wingspan. So that's why I'm saying it's going to be real interesting to see what level of intensity that the Houston Rockets come out with on the defensive side of the ball next season. I think it's going to be supremely high, and I think a lot of teams are going to hate it. But that's what I want to talk about with you guys today. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below if you agree or disagree, and then subscribe. Subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man. And that's curtains.